Good morning, everybody. It's so lovely to see so many of you in the room. The first thing to check, can you hear me in the back okay? Fantastic. So my name is Elliot Newton, and I'm one of the co-founders of Citizen Zoo. I'm here with Lucaz, my fellow co-founder and CEO of Citizen Zoo. We also have Pamela Abbott in the front over here, our chair, and also one of our founders. It is an absolute pleasure and privilege to welcome you this morning to our Rewilding Futures Conference. Rarely do so many inspiring people leading so many pioneering rewilding projects across the globe come together under one roof. As hosts, we wanted to introduce you to Citizen Zoo, especially for those of you who might not know who we are. So we founded Citizen Zoo with the aspiration to live in a world filled with wildlife, where communities are put at the heart of our conservation programs. This all began with the large marsh grasshopper, a beautiful creature that I'm sure you will all agree is a beautiful creature. It is the UK's largest species and one of the rarest species of grasshopper that we have. And with an incredible team, over the last 7 years, we have trained over 50 citizen keepers who have helped to rear eggs to adults. And in that period, we've released over 6,500 grasshoppers to sites across Norfolk to create self-sustaining populations. From that project, from grasshoppers, we started to look into other projects closer to where we live and work. And I live in London. I'm a Londoner born and bred, so that made me start thinking about the London landscape and how rewilding principles can be applied to rewilding. And on reflection, when thinking about urban landscapes, it's where most people live. They're incredibly important. Across the world, 55% of the world's population live in urban environments. And in the UK, 84% of our population live in urban environments. In London alone, we have 9 million people living in there. So it's incredibly important to try and engage people with nature where they live. If nature is something you have to travel to, go far journeys for, it's not something you're going to experience on a daily basis. So we fundamentally believe that that nature should be part of our daily experience and things we engage with on a daily basis. And that philosophy has informed so many of our projects moving forward. So I actually live in Kingston in southwest London, and one of the first projects that we started doing after the grasshoppers was on water voles. And I'm sure many of the audience are aware about water voles. They're the UK's fastest declining mammal. In my lifetime, we've lost about 95% of our water voles, incredibly important species for our river systems. And over the last 6 years, we've been working with over 450 volunteers on the Hogsmill River in Kingston, and we've brought water voles back to that river, which has been an incredibly exciting experience. And later this year, we're going to be doing another water vole release, working with Wildwood, and I know we've got Paul in the audience somewhere. And then moving on to another rodent, the UK's largest rodent, and I know there's many beaver believers in the audience. We helped set up something called the London Beaver Working Group, working with the Beaver Trust to try and get people thinking about beavers in the urban landscape. Because when we think about beavers, people don't always consider them as they consider them more as a wilderness species rather than a species that you find living in towns and cities. But actually, if you look across the world, beavers live in many of our urban spaces. So we thought, well, with the growing beaver population in the UK and beavers being able to thrive in urban spaces, we're working with an amazing team, and some of the team are in the room. We founded the Ealing Beaver Project, and we released a family of beavers into Zone 4 in Ealing in London, into an enclosure, and the beavers are absolutely thriving. And it is a historic moment because it's the only enclosure in the whole of the UK where people can walk into and experience living alongside beavers in urban landscapes. We have people, school children, walking to school in a beaver landscape in Zone 4 London, really challenging perceptions about what nature means in those urban spaces. And moving on to our next project, another urban landscape. We are working on a project called Tolworth Court Farm, an amazing site, over 100 acres. So actually quite small in the grander scheme of things. Some of the projects we'll see today work on much greater scales. But we're working on this site in London, trying to see how we can rewild this site and make it as biodiverse and ecologically complex as possible. So we're going to be building wetlands. We're going to be introducing herbivores over the course of the next year, working with communities, again, to challenge perceptions about how much nature we can have in these urban spaces where people live. And the last project I want to tell you about is something we've actually just received funding for. You might have read the Rewilding Britain newsletter earlier last week. We're very delighted to establish something called the London White Stork Working Group. And white storks have a very interesting history when it comes to UK, which I'm sure is a discussion that might be explored throughout the course of this conference. But one thing that is undeniable to us, that white storks are a symbol of hope, they're a symbol of ecological recovery, and we're now seeing, well, an interesting fact is in 2014, one white stork was seen flying over London skies, but in 2021, in that year, we had over 285 white storks spotted over in London's skyline. And that's mainly by the fantastic work being led by the White Stork Project, seeing white storks fly across our landscapes. So we want to see if we can make London a more white stork-friendly landscape and use this talismanic bird as a species to sort of engage more people and transform perceptions about what it means to live in urban landscapes within these spaces. So hopefully that gives you a small inkling about what we do at Citizen Zoo, and to give you more of an inside information about what we're doing over the next 2 days with this fantastic conference, I'm going to introduce you to my good friend Lucas, who will tell you what we are doing for the next 2 days. So Lucas, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Do I need to speak loud? Oh. Is this better? You can hear me? Okay. So yes, welcome everyone. It's really nice to see you here. I know many of you have come a long way. Some of you have come closer, UK-based. And yeah, it's really nice to see you all. Before we start the conference, we wanted to give you a little bit about a little bit of a rationale behind what we've been planning over the last few months. When we held the conference in 2019, it was much more of a UK-focused event. We leaned into the discussions with different stakeholders, farmers, conservationists, rewilders alike. And it became very clear in the early stages of planning when we were talking to our counterparts in Europe and South America and other parts of the world, that there was a strong appetite for a global conference showcasing the diversity of perspectives in our sector. So we really leaned into that, and we really wanted to make a conference about that. This year's conference theme is Rewilding Futures, and it's all about looking ahead. So when we were speaking with our guests and our speakers, we didn't just want to hear about their achievements over however long they've been working, but more about how to do things, how to do rewilding, give us all a few really practical insights into how they've achieved some of the amazing work that they've done. So that's what you're going to hear over the next 2 days. We have amazing speakers from South America, from North America, from Africa and Mozambique, Australasia, and also our counterparts in continental Europe, and of course Britain. And we really hope it will be a thought-provoking event. Elliot and I, as we were preparing for this conference, were looking back to 2019 and how far we've come as a community. One thing that was amusing at the time was when one of the Oxbridge dictionaries added rewilding to the lexicon. And at the time, it felt like such a moment, the official designation of rewilding as a word. And today, rewilding is not only part of our language, but it's also really captivated the public imagination. I think we as professionals, we can still debate the meaning and principles of the word, but I think for me, one thing is clear, the public, by and large, seems to get it. And I think that shared understanding has created some opportunities for us in terms of the speed and scale that we can do rewilding that maybe wasn't possible 30 or 40 years ago, which is really exciting. Again, for me personally, rewilding embodies a sense of hope, a forward-looking approach that brings together the ecological recovery and human connection that can inspire and empower many of us. So over the next 2 days, you're going to find some of the talks quite challenging, but we welcome that. We would welcome you to lean into that and really engage in that dialogue, because it's what makes events like this really amazing. So on that note, I would like to introduce you to our amazing facilitators for the event. We have Phil Hadridge, which is a professional facilitator, mentor, and advisor based in Cambridge. And we have Natasha Ali from UNEP-WCMC. For those of you who still are waking up and need caffeine, Natasha and Phil are going to go over some housekeeping and a little bit of a waking up exercise, perhaps. Yes, so thank you all once again. I look forward to connecting with many of you, and yes, enjoy the show.
Lucas, thank you. And good morning, everybody. And that sounded a bit scary, didn't it? Wake you up exercise. How many of you were here 6 years ago in this room at the first one of these events? Could see a show of hands. So what would we say? With a
less than half.
15%, 20% maybe? So it's great to have you here to carry on the conversation. Wonderful to have so many other people here for the first time to get going as we work together in the next few minutes. So we're going to do that with a little bit of hands in the air, but also just to prime you, we'll be going on to Menti, and we'll be using that. Who here has no idea what I'm on about when I say Menti? Okay, we will explain that. It's a way with a phone or a computer, and we'll be able to talk to each other, capture questions, but a bit more on that in a couple of minutes.
Well, I will say, so we will need a device for that. So if you don't have one, maybe just a quick show of hands, because then we'll have a rethink about how we do things. Great. And at some point, I think we're going to put a QR code up on screen so you can join in. So, yeah, welcome. We thought we'd start with just thinking about who's in the room. And I know this is a kind of broad community. So I'd love just to see how many of you, just looking around the room, how many of you would say you know over half of the people in this room? Just by show of hands, how many of you think you know more than half of the people in this room? Okay. And then at the other end of the spectrum, I'd love just to know how many of you think you know less than 5 people in this room? Wow, okay, that's interesting. All right, that's great to know. All right, so all we wanted to highlight is that it's a growing community. And the way that Lucas and Elliot have set up this agenda has given us lots of time for networking and talking to each other. So use the breaks to get to know each other, to get to know what we're all working on. There'll be plenty of coffee breaks and lunch breaks throughout the day. And also use the time in this space to talk to each other, and including the breakout group. So yeah, welcome again, and I'll hand over to Phil now on the...
And the much heralded Menti, which isn't working at the
Okay,
moment.
fine.
So Natasha,
I'm going to keep going, I
please
think.
do. Thank you, Natasha.
I'm going to keep going.
Thank you.
So our role here is to keep things flowing, which is what we're going to do. And in that sense, we're going to just talk to you about the way things are going to go. So as you've seen, there's a series of lectures, some of them, and presentations. Some of them are in here, and some of them will be in the David Attenborough building. There are lots of volunteers here. I don't know if you've noticed. So please approach them if you're not sure where to go, and they'll talk to you about where the agenda is. The most important thing I need to tell you is about the coffee breaks. So the way the coffee breaks are going to work is people on this side of the room are going to file up the stairs and go out of the door here. People on this side of the room are going to come down the stairs and go out this door here. And there are volunteers to show you where to go. And the coffee trucks, I think, are outside. Someone's going to correct me if I'm mistaken. Is that right? Yes. So this side coming down and this side going up. Is that clear? Yes? No? Maybe? Is it working?
It is.
Brilliant.
It is.
I'm going to hand over. Thank you. Shall I go with the Menti?
Yeah, we've got the Menti code on the screen now with the QR code. If you can't make that work, can you see there's a number on the top? You just go to menti.com and put that number in. And we're going to use this, particularly today, where we've got a lot of short question and answer sessions. This will be the main way we capture your questions and prioritize them. So it's worth trying to get online if you can, because it really will make a difference. This is hidden at the moment, so you can't see the results.
So our first question here is, when I say the word rewilding, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? So we'll give you a couple of minutes just to get on to Menti and then to start compiling your answers. If you've got any tech problems, just raise your hand and we'll come to you.
I know there's reasonable 5G in the room for many people. The connection through the Wi-Fi code hopefully
We'll just give you a
working.
minute to think about that. Maybe the first thing that comes into your mind.
All right, so we've got a whole load of responses. We'll start to look at those as they're moving around with the animation. So Natasha, what do you make of the screen here, the keywords that are coming out?
I'm waiting. Well, I really like it. I just saw at the middle there, I saw links come up. Our 3 words there, biodiversity, nature and hope, obviously.
Do have a look if there's any surprises at any stage with any of our questions. Many of these look descriptive to me.
Should we let them talk?
Great. Okay, the next question. And we know some of you live local. I'm a locally sourced facilitator. I walked here this morning. Some of you have come a long way from other continents. It would be really good to get a sense of the effort you've made to get here.
I'm going to do this part as well.
You can do that if you want to.
Okay. Is it a question or mentor? Or is it
I'll just hands up. Okay, let's have a look at the results on that.
Wow, okay.
So, just to check, how many people here are outside of Europe? How many of you have come from outside of Europe? Really good to have you here. Thank you. Some of you as speakers, others. Where have you come from? The person in the middle? US? Other people? Yep. Africa? Mozambique? Wonderful. So we're going to hear from some of you in the sessions we're going to next. Thank you for coming. And the animation on a few hours is very happy, isn't it, actually? Yeah.
Can I just check so that we can make sure that the flow is going well? Can I just check, how many of you have English as a second language or a third language or not as a first language? Okay. And
yeah, so if we're working in English here, if at any stage for anyone, for whatever reason, whether it's because of your first or second language, don't get what's being said, don't understand it, please come and see us. We want to make this as accessible, as enjoyable to anyone. If for any reason things are not clear, please come and see us. We've got a couple more questions.
what's this one?
This is just to check what sort of group we are as we meet here together.
Is that percentage or is that numbers?
These are numbers. These are numbers. Okay, what do you make of that, Natasha?
I think it's, I mean, it was a demographic that you'd expect to get at a Rewilding conference.
And the final demographic question for you. Okay. So, we didn't do our question design very well here. We've got a very large other category. What are some of the others in the room? Please shout out. On this side, another, yes, please? Consultant ecologist. And who else is a consultant? Yep. Landscape architect. Who else is a landscape architect? A few of you. Yep. We've clearly got those categories to go on there. Any other categories? Archaeologist.
Journalist over there.
Sorry? Field. Okay. Fencing.
Rewilding organisation.
Rewilding organisation. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Frank, thank you. Okay, anyone else over this side? Other?
We had a journalist.
Vet, great. Thank you all very much for this time and effort. We've got opportunity in our breaks which take us outside into the natural world, into the Cambridge, maybe grey, hopefully a little bit sunny later. We'll tell you about that, to carry on the conversation with each other, to work together. When we're in this room, there'll be a lot of listening today and questioning through Menti. We've been on Menti now. Who is really excited about using this as a way of interacting today?
All of us.
Who has already lost the will to live? Actually, somebody asked us to check this out with you. If you know or have a hunch, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Who's an introvert in the room? Who would say they're an introvert?
You don't want to raise their, they won't want to raise their hands.
Very good, very good. And who's an extrovert? Look at those hands.
All the hands.
Our hope today is there'll be ways of interacting that work for everyone, whatever your preference is, whatever your personality. And one way we're going to do that is to capture questions through Menti, so that as we go forward with our speakers, you'll be able to see on your devices. And please have a look at this now. This is a different sort of thing. It will stay live. It will be on your phone the whole time. You'll be able to see all the questions that are being raised. You'll be able to add questions, but also upvote them. You'll be able to look at the most recent questions. You'll be able to look at the most popular questions. So this is going to be a key tool for our chairs as we go forward.
All right, we're gonna hand back now to Elliot and Lucas, and you're going to carry on, I guess.